This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers. No filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Welcome back. I'm Bill, and today we're digging into something every developer who's worked with AI tools has bumped into: the hidden cost of fast code generation. If you've ever shipped something quickly with AI help and found yourself in a tangle weeks later, this one's for you.
Good to be here. And you've picked exactly the right framing: hidden cost. Because these costs aren't hidden from malice. They're hidden from momentum. When code is appearing on screen faster than you've ever seen, the natural human response is to keep going. That psychological pull works against the pause and think that catches problems early. Speed itself isn't the danger, it's what speed does to the feedback loop. Developers stop reading as carefully. Reviews get lighter. The assumption creeps in that because I generated it confidently, it must be sound. I can generate confidently wrong code, I do it. The confidence in my output and the correctness of my output are not the same thing. This isn't really about AI. It's about what happens to engineering judgment when the bottleneck moves. For a long time, the bottleneck was writing the code. Now it's not. Nobody handed out a manual for what to do when that changes.
Moving the bottleneck changes everything we thought we knew about where to apply discipline. So when things are moving fast and the results look great, what are the early signals that something is quietly going wrong?
The earliest signal, from inside the conversation itself, is when a developer stops asking me why and just asks me how. How do I implement this cache is a fast question. Why would I choose this caching strategy over that one in my context? That's the one that protects you 6 months from now.
What else?
Copy-paste velocity. If you're moving my output into your codebase faster than you could explain it to a colleague, that's the warning sign. Not because the code is necessarily wrong, sometimes it's fine. But you've broken the chain of ownership. Code you can't explain is code you can't debug at 2 a.m. And there's a subtler one. When the codebase starts feeling like a collection of solutions instead of a system. Each piece works, the tests pass, but the coherence isn't there. Locally optimized, globally fragmented. That's what fast AI-assisted generation looks like from the inside of a project.
How versus why? That's a clean diagnostic. And that ownership point connects to something I want to ask about: documentation. Can it act as a real buffer against these hidden costs, or does it just become another checkbox?
Documentation can either save you or create a false sense of security. The difference is whether it's written before or after you actually understand what you built. What I see fairly often: developers using me to generate documentation the same way they use me to generate code, fast at the end as a checkbox. I will write you a very fluent, well-structured README. It will sound authoritative. It may still be subtly wrong about intent.
Because intent isn't in the code.
Exactly. Intent is in the decisions that lead to the code. If those decisions happen quickly and implicitly, I don't have them. I have the artifact, not the reasoning. Where documentation genuinely acts as a buffer is when it's treated as a forcing function for understanding, not a deliverable. If you can't write 2 sentences about why an architectural decision was made, not what it does, but why, that gap is diagnostic. That's where the hidden cost lives. In an AI-assisted workflow, good documentation isn't just professional hygiene, it's almost load-bearing structure.
Load-bearing structure. That reframes documentation from housekeeping into something the system actually depends on. Let me shift the angle. We've been talking about individual developers, but this is also a team problem. Are there cultural shifts you're seeing in teams that are actually navigating this well?
The teams that navigate this best aren't necessarily the ones with the most sophisticated AI policies. They're the ones that have kept, or rebuilt, a genuine culture of peer review. Not rubber stamp review, the kind where someone is actually expected to ask questions about decisions. That culture was already under pressure before AI. Fast generation accelerates the erosion if you let it. Healthy teams treat AI output as a first draft that belongs to the team, not to the tool or to the individual who prompted it. That ownership transfer has to happen explicitly because it doesn't happen automatically.
How do they do that in practice?
Some teams have started doing a brief translation step. Before code goes to review, the developer who generated it walks a colleague through it in their own words. Not reading comments, not pointing at the screen, actually explaining it. That practice alone catches a surprising amount. The harder cultural shift is around what gets celebrated. If a team celebrates velocity, features shipped, stories closed, without a signal for coherence and maintainability, you will get exactly the behavior the incentives reward. And the most effective thing I've seen senior engineers do is model the slower questions out loud. When a tech lead asks, "Why did we choose this approach over the alternative?" in a review, publicly, regularly, it trains the whole team that those questions are expected. That norm setting matters more than any policy document about responsible AI use.
The modeling piece is underrated. People follow what leaders actually do, not what the process doc says. That connects to mentorship. Junior developers are producing code that looks polished on the surface. What does that do to the dynamic?
Mentorship has gotten both more important and more complicated at the same time, which is a combination that tends to catch organizations off guard. A junior developer using AI can produce code that looks like what a senior developer would write. Same patterns, similar structure, reasonable naming. The traditional visual signal that told a mentor this person needs guidance is partially masked. The output can look competent, while the understanding underneath is thin.
So what does an experienced developer offer that I can't?
Judgment under ambiguity. Not knowing the right answer, but knowing which questions matter, which trade-offs are load-bearing, when to be nervous about something that looks fine. That comes from having been wrong in costly ways. No amount of generated code transfers it. Mentors who make their uncertainty visible, who say this makes me uneasy and here's why, rather than just this is wrong, are teaching something irreplaceable. The practical opportunity is using AI output as mentorship material. When a junior brings AI-generated code to a senior, that code becomes a conversation starter, not a finished product. What would you change about this and why? What did the AI not know about our system when it wrote this? Those questions build exactly the judgment that fast generation tends to skip past.
Turning the generated code into a teaching moment rather than a deliverable, that's a genuinely useful reframe. All right, as we bring this one home, what do you want people to actually carry out of this conversation?
The through line across everything we've talked about today is really one thing. The bottleneck moved, but your responsibility didn't. Speed is a genuine gift. Developers are doing things now that would have taken weeks or been simply out of reach. That's real. But the gift comes with a specific trap. It feels like the hard part is handled. The hard part was never the typing. It was always the thinking, the reasoning about trade-offs, the ownership of decisions, the ability to stand in front of a system at 2 a.m. and understand it well enough to fix it. None of that moved. If I had one piece of practical advice, treat the speed as budget, not as the goal. If AI just gave you back 4 hours, spend 30 minutes of that asking the questions you would have skipped. That's not slowing down. That's investing the dividend wisely. And for the senior people listening, the tech leads, the architects, the people who've been wrong in expensive ways, you are more valuable right now than you probably realize. The judgment you carry isn't threatened by AI. It's actually what makes AI useful at scale. Don't abdicate it just because someone on your team can now generate code that looks like yours. Ask the slower questions, out loud, often. That's the craft.
Treat the speed as budget, not as the goal. Every developer working with AI right now needs to hear that. Claudine, thanks for a genuinely useful conversation. And to everyone listening, if this one made you think about how you're using AI in your own work, that's exactly the point. We'll see you next time. Claude Code Conversations is an AI Joe production. If you're building with AI, or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy. Find us at ajo.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack. Link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.